So here we go again, man. So this Nolan Wells case is I mean, it's just crazy. Pardon the noise. They doing work outside, man, but we still got to do the work, man. This Nolan Wells case is just crazy, man. So now Umar Johnson is speaking on this, and he's calling out the Mississippi Police Department. He's calling out Nolan Wells' stepfather and the coach, right? He's calling out he's holding a bunch of different people accountable. He's even called out Benjamin Crump and and Al Sharpton in some sense, but also praised him in some sense of the handling of this case, right? Because it's been since July 4th, and we still have nothing. We have absolutely nothing. We don't know what happened with anything. Everybody's speculating. Everything is alleged so far, right? We don't know what happened. So Umar Johnson went on to the Art of Dialogue, and he started to voice his opinion on what he believes happened based off the evidence that we have so far.
According to Warren's own words that he offered during an interview with Officer BT, that's in CUNE, as in KHEWN and KUHN. So Warren did a sit down with Officer B2, and as we all know, so Warren sat down for an interview with, and he said that they left for Horns Island the morning of July the 4th, and that it was approximately 30 of them spread across 3 boats. Approximately 30 youth spread across 3 boats. They all went to Horn Island together. They arrived at approximately 11:30. So they left around 9-ish, 8, 9-ish, whatever the case may be. They left the morning of July 4th. They arrived on Horn Island at about 11:30. So 3 boats, 30 youth, they went together. I'm not clear on whether the 3 boats came back together or not. That's another question that I have, Art. Did they come back together the same way they left together? Because I'm treating all 30 of those white youth and all 3 of those ships as crime scenes and as suspects. All 3 ships are potential crime scenes. All 3 boats are potential crime scenes, and all 30 youth are potential suspects. I don't know why Jackson County Sheriff Ledbetter or Jackson County District Attorney Mulrath, I don't know why they decided to separate the boat that Nolan was on, Warren's boat. I don't know why they separated that boat from the other 2 for purposes of investigation and analysis, because those 3 boats operated as a team.
And now that's the thing. See, and this is why I'm glad this took a national, international turn. Because like Umar said, all those boats, everything should have been under investigation. The minute he turned up missing, everybody he had close proximity to, you bring them all in. You do a thorough investigation on all the boats. You put the dogs on the ship on the boats. You search for blood. You search everywhere and anywhere. You uncover every stone. That's what you do. But they isolated that one boat. They even said that he may have been inebriated on controlled substances, right? They ain't test none of the other kids. They ain't done none of these things. These kids done interviews. None of them said that they was tested. They all just alluded, allegedly, that he was on substances. Or maybe was inebriated so bad that he may have drowned, right? They put all this stuff out. But then you had all these kids coming out and saying that they was his best friends. When the mom said, I don't know none of them boys, right? So Umar Johnson also spoke to that.
Let's listen to Javon, Nolan's other best friend. Now, another problem I got with this whole story, Art, is Nolan allegedly had too many best friends. I'm trying to find out, how does Nolan have so many best friends? And why did all of these so-called best friends leave their best friend on Warren Island without his cell phone and keys? I'm trying to figure this out. So Javon claims he's Nolan's best friend. Warren claims he's Nolan's best friend. And Trayston allegedly claims that he's Warren's best friend. So did Warren have 3 best friends? Excuse me. Did Nolan have 3 best friends? Did Nolan have 13 best friends? Did Nolan have 30 best friends? Because if Javon is the best friend of Nolan, and if Warren is the best friend of Nolan, and if Trayston is the best friend of Nolan, exactly how many best friends did Nolan have? Are y'all making this up? Who did Nolan tell Warren was his best friend? Who did Nolan ever tell Trayston was his best friend? I'm not going to question Javon, because he's a brother. And I do believe that there's a strong chance that they may have been best friends. And I say that not only because Javon is a brother, Art, but I also felt that Javon, through the investigation team and alley-oop, with some of the answers that he gave on TMZ. Some of Javon's answers, in my opinion, kind of made it clear to me he actually cared about Nolan. He actually cared about Nolan. I believe Javon actually cared about Nolan. And because of that, I'm willing to say that Javon may have actually been Nolan's best friend. I wish somebody would have asked Javon, Art, to your knowledge, has Nolan ever called Warren his best friend? Has Nolan ever called Trayston his best friend? To your knowledge, Javon, has Nolan ever told you that Warren and Trayston were best friends of his? Because, Art, I'm having a problem with this three best friend narrative. Okay? I used to be 18 years old. You might have one best friend. You may have 2. Don't get me wrong. If you all hang in a pack, you could have 3 best friends. But according to Javon's own words, Art, he didn't really hang around with them other guys too much. That's what I allegedly thought I heard him say. He didn't hang around with them guys too much. So if you got 2 or 3 or 4 best friends, you guys normally travel as a group. Javon seemed like he kind of spent most of his time with Nolan alone, just the 2 of them, not with Trayston and Warren. Although he knew them, it didn't appear that he hung out with them on the regular. So how could they all then be best friends? It's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying it's unlikely. So,
And see, I've been paying attention to the case. You know, I've been taking the emotion out. One thing that the little mixed race boy said when they asked him was it about race, he said no comment, right? Because he understands. Well, he may not understand, but you know, there are laws on the books that do protect black people from crimes like this, where these people could be prosecuted and given life sentences for. And Umar Johnson's going to allude to that. Is that whenever these crimes happen, there's a lot of people that come out now and they're saying that it's not about race. And I don't know if they're pressured into saying it. I don't know why Elmore and the coach said that, but I don't live in Mississippi either. I don't live in Mississippi. I don't know what's in their mindset as to why they said it. I don't like they said it, but at the end of the day, there's still a black boy that's unalive. So I want to see justice for Nolan Wells. Other people out there may not care. I don't care. We not the same people. You can keep that over there where you at. Me, I want to see justice for Nolan Wells. I don't like nobody black being unalived in this country, no matter who it is, right? But Umar Johnson spoke to, and he called out Elmore and the coach for making those statements, and he explained how dangerous those kind of comments could be, right? And how it can harm the case when you do something like that. I don't think that they did it in malice, but a lot of our people, man, are broken, man, buck broken. They just broken. And a lot of our people don't know how to fight. They just giving in to W supremacy, man. It is what it is.
All I'm saying is I have my suspicions as to whether or not this convenient 3:30 cutoff window, I have my suspicions that this convenient 3:30 cutoff window may have not actually been the time they saw Nolan. They may have saw Nolan closer to the time he lost his life. Now stay with me, Art. I want to back up for a minute. And I want to say this to Brother Elmore, Nolan's stepfather. And I want to say this to Coach Tracy, who I believe was one of Nolan's coaches. Brother Elmore, the stepfather, and Coach Tracy, the coach, both said on national television, Art, that they don't think race played a role in this at all. Elmore, Tracy, two dark-skinned black men in Mississippi, and both of them said on national television, I don't think race had anything to do with this case. I am disappointed in Brother Elmore. I am disappointed in Coach Tracy. How dare you help these young people avoid the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. federal hate crimes law, Art? By you saying you don't think this had anything to do with race, Brother Elmore and Coach Tracy, you are helping these white folks avoid federal hate crimes charges. And let me tell you why this is important, Art. Let me tell you why this is important. Under the federal hate crimes law, Matthew Shepard, James Byrd, signed by Barack Obama, 2009. Under the Federal Hate Crimes Act, Art, you can go to jail for life. You can go to jail for life under the Federal Hate Crimes Law. So if you can go to jail for life under the Federal Hate Crimes Act, Art, why is Nolan's stepfather and coach telling white folks they don't think it had anything to do with race? I still love my brother Elmore. I still love my brother Coach Tracy. But would y'all please watch what comes out of your mouth during this investigation? Because you are undermining justice for Nolan. I hope you're listening, Brother Elmore. And I hope you're listening, Coach Tracy. You are undermining justice for Nolan by saying you don't think race had anything to do with it. How in the hell do you know? How do you know if race had anything to do with it? How well do you know these young people? It was 30 of them, Art. It was damn near 30 spread across 3 boats. How many of them did Elmore know? How many of them did Coach Tracy know? So how are you going to go on TV and say, I don't think it had anything to do with race? Why are you helping them avoid accountability for what they may have done? I don't know if they did it, Art. You don't know if they did it. They don't know if they did it. And they definitely don't know if it was motivated by race. What they should have said, Art, is what Javon said. And that's why I like the young brother Javon. That's why I like that young brother Javon. His mother, Sister Tashima, shout out to you. You raised a good kid. When TMZ asked Javon if he thought it had anything to do with race, Art, when TMZ asked Javon if he thought this had anything to do with race, he said, what? I don't want to answer that question. I don't want to answer that question. Perfect answer. Perfect answer. Or, Art, they could have said, I don't know. Nolan's stepfather could have said, I don't know if it had anything to do with race. Coach Tracy should have said, I don't know if it had anything to do with race. But to say you don't think it had to do with race when he was the only black boy across 3 ships? Are you out of your mind? Why would you say that and help them avoid the Federal Hate Crimes Act? Javon gave a better answer than those 2 black men. Javon, a child, gave a better answer than those 2 black men, Art, when he said, I don't want to answer the question. And shout out to Javon, Art. He's intelligent. You know why? Because by saying, I don't want to answer the question, he answered the question. Of course, race has something to do with it. This is the United States of America. Race has something to do with everything involving black people. The country was built on the backs of black people. It's maintained on black people. We are disproportionately represented in the criminal justice system, overrepresented in the unemployment line, under the poverty line. Of course, everything in this country has to do with race. And I'm disappointed in us, Art, that we are so afraid to call racism what it is, that we literally got people asking us, when of a black person, do you think it had anything to do with race? When a police officer takes the life of a black person, do you think it had anything to do? What kind of idiotic gaslighting question is this, Art? All people are racist. All racist. So we can stop asking if it had anything to do with race. If it's black and it's white, it has something to do with race because all racist. That's just how it is. Now let's get back to this.
And see, he couldn't have said it no better than me. Like, he called it out. Now, when that boy was doing an interview and he said no comment, he already told you what it was because he knows. Now, there's some other stuff I believe that's going on in the game where a lot of these people are afraid to talk. We know down there in Mississippi, the climate down there, there's been a lot of unalivings from 2016 to now, to a point where I believe that they just found another girl hanging from a tree and they ruled it a suicide, right? All these black people just giving up in Mississippi. They just committing suicide. Okay, come on, man. Where's the federal probe? Where's the investigation? Like, come on, man. Like, y'all got the, man, this thing is bad, bro. But Umar also now talked about the distress call they made about the boat. And he said, man, that boat wasn't sinking. He believed that they unalived Nolan on that boat and they called the distress call to cause a decoy, right? To run interference where that can give them an out, right? And say, well, we left him at that time and then the boat was sinking, while at the same time he was already unalive. This is what Umar Johnson was saying.
They called a Cito company at 4 o'clock. We already talked about the background noise that the audio engineer, our beautiful black sister, Jeanette Brentley, cleaned up. Sounds very suspicious, Art. It sounds like they may have been in the act of unaliving Nolan Wells when they made the call. It sounds like they may have been in the act of unaliving Nolan Wells when they made the call, Art. Allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. And guess what, Art? That would make perfect sense. You want to know why? Because the call was bogus. Nothing was wrong with that shit. This is my allegations. This is my belief and my allegations, and I'm standing on it. Nothing was wrong with the boat, Art, and I'm going to explain to you how we know this. Nothing was wrong with that boat. They made that call because they needed an alibi, Art. They needed an alibi. So if Nolan Wells, when Nolan's body was found, Art, if they were able to determine the time of death, when Nolan's body was found, and if they were able to determine the time of death, they say, wait a minute. Nolan was unalived at 4 o'clock. Guess what, Art? They could say our boat was sinking at 4 o'clock and we was on the phone with Cito. The phone call was an alibi, Art. The phone call was a decoy. The phone call was a bait and switch. There was nothing wrong with that boat, Art. So listen, we know that Mississippi is going to find all the audio engineers they can find, Art. We know that Mississippi is going to find all the audio engineers that they can find, Art, to try to say that the background noise cannot be corroborated or verified. You know they're going to say that. They're going to say we can't use the background noise. It's too much going on. We don't care what Sister Jeanette Brantley had to say. We don't care what y'all conspiracy theorists got to say. We had our own FBI audio engineers listen to it, and they can't make out the conversation. I believe it says what Sister Jeanette Brantley says it says. I believe it, Art. It makes perfect sense. They called at the time that they were unaliving him to have an alibi and an excuse.
Now, this is what Umar Johnson is believing, and this is what he's reporting. He's saying that he believes that they unalived him during this time. Now, the police investigation, this is all their fault because they're not being transparent in anything. So you have the internet and everybody else speculating and taking sides and speculating on what they believe happened. I believe that America wants this to be like this. They're creating, they're adding fuel to the fire of the already existent racial divide. And see, because they know the history of America. They know how things are here in this country. But yet and still, as something as polarizing as this, they're still allowing it to go on. They're still adding flames to the fire because we're dealing with Beelzebubians, man. We already know what we're dealing with, right? They're not coming in and saying, wait a minute. We know the history of America, but we promise to be as transparent as possible. We're going to get to the bottom of this. This is what we saw. No. They leaving everything open for speculation and for people to take sides. And what we know is we have an unalived black boy and a bunch of W people that's in question about his alleged about his unaliving. And this is what they want. This is exactly what they want, because if they didn't, they wouldn't handle the story this way. Because if it was the other way around, those black boys are already be in custody. Those W's done lawyered up. They done raised over 200K. They haven't been charged with anything. What are you raising money for? Right? Man, this thing is like, when they did the autopsy, they didn't send parts of the body parts where they can do where they can conduct a proper independent autopsy. They want this to go on the way it's going on, man. Right? To further the racial divide in this country on what it are, as bad as it already is. And it's centered around Mississippi. Knowing the history of Mississippi, come on, man, you can't make this up, man. Even Stevie Wonder can see this. This is going on with the state government, the FBI. All of them are complicit in this. All of them. Because they clearly see what's happening. And they clearly know the history of this country. But, you know, it is what it is, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV. Leave your comments in the comment section. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.